Hello YouTube, I'm back again with another rant video. This is not one of the more serious topics, but this is actually one of the more pathetic situations where you have somebody but they can't help themselves. So basically there's this man who goes by GGExotic, who happens to be engaged Jillian, who decides, you know what, I'm gonna flex my dad's property, I'm gonna flex his cars, I'm gonna flex his money, I'm gonna flex his property, all that, just to get clout. But one thing this guy doesn't realize that if you look at it, like, people are gonna laugh at you, and I mean like they're because the whole if I'm making a video, it has to be based on my achievements. I would rather record my own success rather than somebody else's. Yeah, sure, that person happens to be his dad. Like, you talk about it, but like, I don't. One thing I understand is like, what is the point? You bring up someone else's success when the video has to do with you, because you trying to when you make a video, when you're making content, the whole purpose is supposed to revolve around you. But then you fail to realize it because you're thinking, oh, if somebody in your life has something that you don't have, that they've earned on their own, you might as well boast about it. You might as well flex and just say, "Oh, I achieved this by being related to this person. They made this my daily life." It shows how spoiled you are too. That I have an easier life than you guys. That's basically what he's implying. Is because his dad was able to do so much, was able to provide for him, that this is where he has this notion that like he can just make it seem like life is that easy and that it shouldn't be that difficult for anyone. But when he doesn't realize how to look at their situation. Whereas you have this spoiled rich kid. This is where this is one of the reasons, a prime example why people don't like, or a lot of people are against spoiled rich kids, or people are who are rich in general, or tend to be millions, billionaires, trillionaires. Because let's be real, they tend to be elitist pricks. They think because all that counts is the amount of money they have, and that they have more than others. Because I know for a fact, like, if you like look at this way, for how long you live for as an adult, and if you take the time to do your research, take the time to look into other people, you're as despite all that money, that there are people that are willing to gamble with either most of their money or a lot of their money, because that's their way of saying that they want to become more rich, and they think it's going to be it is possible, but then you're taking a risk as well on top of it. But besides that, I actually want to talk about Gage Jillian. Just because your dad spent a lot of money on certain items, certain property, does not make that a good investment. And it all depends, because from what I understand, a lot of it is going to collect dust. They just had it there for display. And then I realize also, you've been driving this Pagani Huayra Roadster. It is a beautiful car, but I know it's worth $3.4 million. From so you And then I'll explain what you did later, but you claim really claim that, oh, it's a mistake, that you don't that it's not a big deal, but you will find out whether, especially that it'll be a big deal later on, once you realize you don't have the funds for it. And also because I'm talking about when you get older, but then you decide, you know, I'm gonna be a YouTuber. I'm gonna do Instagram. I'm gonna do TikTok. I'm not gonna look for a real life job. But sometimes it's important to do so, because I told this. I don't just I don't tell this to. I don't usually comment on people. I usually don't. But usually when I'll tell others, like close friends, I'm not gonna give my personal life, but I'm gonna give them factual proof. I notice a lot of the people who tend to be social medias, who tend to be content creators, they think that because they're making money online, they're rich, they already have enough money, they're somehow making a certain amount of money online, that it's an excuse to not look for a second job. But sometimes you need something to fall back on. There are times where eventually in the future you need to have a second job, so you be able to prioritize, so that it makes so that in the meantime, yeah, while you're working, you can do YouTube too. I'm not saying you can't do social media, but the point I'm trying to make is some people fail to realize that it is also important that you have a real life job too, because people will judge you. They're gonna wonder what your experience is, because sometimes if they find out your hobby is just simply social media, your occupation is just you being on social media doing videos, they're gonna ask, how well does he do on the field? How well does he do in real life? Does he know? Because they want to find out if you are good with communication with actual people. If you have like a actual like lifestyle when it comes to meeting people in person, like in person lifestyle. Because it's not just, you can't heavily rely on the internet, because yeah, it is important that you use the internet to do further research, to further and improve your job skills, to meet new people. That is important, but at the same time, it's also a plan B as well, because usually it is important while you're doing social media, on top of it, you do have a plan B. If things don't go the way you expect them, if things don't go the way you're hoping, because there are times where you will not get a job because of maybe in the past when you did content you might have offended people. You may have not been the brightest person. You might not be there to, you may not be that reasonable person, something you can't reason with, because sometimes people who tend to have a huge ego or are big on social media become very condescending. And for example, like, I'm going to talk about the car, the Pagani Roadster. Or yeah, that's what it is. So I prefer to call it that way. Simple, make it short. But you acted like you were proud what happened. So for people who don't know, like, this guy actually got in a car crash and damaged his own dad's vehicle, his 3.4 million Roadster. This beautiful car, and there are cars that are worth less, but it's definitely not worth the money. But a car like this, I wouldn't, I'd be very careful with that. But he says at the end, he said, shit happens. And he felt like it was, although he realized it was wrong, but he's like, I feel proud at the end of the day, because like I got to drive something so precious, so valuable. Like, it was bound to happen. It was bound to get damaged, because a car like that can't stay perfect. But the thing is, when you spend that kind of money, you always want to be in perfect condition. You want to make sure you don't damage the car. And then I don't know whether he probably realizes his dad won't sue him, but this kid is bronze. His head is clearly bronze. Honestly, what I mean bronze, he's dull, he's dim-witted, and I feel like all that money, like I say, having all that money, like people say, having tons of money is like a double-edged sword. In the beginning, you can enjoy life, and at the end, you're gonna realize, like, imagine without that money. Imagine you even have enough money. You grow desperate. You grow broke. Because when you grow broke, you actually end up going nuts, and then you end up begging. He's gonna be, because these are the type of guys that say, "Oh, since I have all this money, I have no reason to work. I have all this reason to be happy, to live my life the way I want to." But to be able to live the way you want to, you gotta be able to achieve that by being able to put yourself under pressure. You gotta work under pressure too, because YouTube is not really pressure, depending on the type of content you. From what I understand, this guy really lacks social skills. He really lacks any type of like criteria that I haven't really noticed. Like, what are his like important skill traits? What are those that I consider impressive? What are those that are very like interesting? What are those that are valuable when doing content? Because if you're doing content, it has to be valuable resource. It has to contain valuable resource, and he has to contain like some he has to contain like some sort of like strength, that he is willing to prove that he's just more than just a guy who just flexes money and other people's property. And again, this is a sad case of what happens when you grow too rich, and then eventually you grow broke, because all that flexing, if that's going to be his lifestyle, that's what he's entirely going to do for the most of his life. But that's like, he's not. That's why it's best you think about it later when people call you out, when people say it for the way it is. Like, it's like, I'm not to say your dad is a bad person. I'm not to say what your dad does with your life, but let's be real with the stuff that he's bought, like, you can get it for much less, I can guarantee you that. But you know, he rests because maybe for him he rests, considering how much money we can assume that maybe the dad for him for the dad who bought all this stuff to decorate his house wasn't a big deal. Like the chandeliers, the piano, I saw all that, the amount of sports cars he has, and then you acting like your dad's achievement. Clearly, your dad's achievements is his, not yours, and that's the point I'm trying to make. I personally dislike when people try to use someone else's success to try to gain some type of validation, to feel that they somehow are like, you know, it makes me think, maybe this kid makes me think this kid's envious of his dad and that he'll grow up to be like him, or he wants to become better. Yes, it's best to be better than somebody. You want to be yourself, but like at the same time, do not use somebody else's success because it makes people think that you're jealous. 100%. I feel that could be the case. Maybe his dad didn't give him enough attention, and it's very cringe, honestly. Like, because that's mainly what he's doing from now on. When he's doing content, it's just basically talking about and flexing his dad's property. And it's not really considered a skill. That's the point I'm trying to make. It's not really considered a skill. It's just considered condescending that I'm talking. Condescending behavior, arrogant behavior, ignorant. Because imagine one day, considering the kind of money his dad is, there'll be a time, maybe he won't realize it, but eventually there will be a time when maybe the dad will be fed up. He's gonna, considering his own son is adult, eventually he's gonna kick him out, and he's gonna have to like see it for himself, like that could there possibly be some consequences if you keep talking about someone else's property like it's yours, because you know that the people are going to claim you're jealous, and that at the end of the day that it can possibly lead to it being true. And this kid needs to find some other hobby, honestly. Best believe he needs to change his hobby. He needs to do something interesting and try to improve himself. That's what I hope for, because that's why I really get irritated with content creators. They don't try to improve themselves, but they feel all it's literally about all talk. But to be a content creator, I feel like you have to do more than just talk. You have to show what else you can do besides talking. That whether how you're good on the field, whether how you do on the computer, and besides that, it's also important that you try to edit and try to create and make your own video seem more interesting. On top of just talking, because it's more than just like talking. You have to be able to show some activity to prove that how active you truly are as a content creator and that you deserve your spot online. And again, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Be sure to wait and look forward for new upcoming content later in the future. Be sure to check your notifications, comment, like, subscribe. Thank you.